Hello everyone, how's it going? My name is Dan the Tutor, on a mission to become the world's greatest tutor. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to solve equations that have fractions in them. So what I'm talking about is problems like this, where I have 1/2 times the quantity, x minus 2, is equal to 3/8 times the quantity, 2x plus 1. Now one thing you can do is you can distribute the 1/2 to both terms and the 3/8 to both terms. However, I don't recommend it because then we're going to be dealing with fractions for the rest of the problem. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the least common denominator, which in this case is going to be 8 because 2 times 4 gets me 8. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by that least common denominator. So I'm multiplying the right one by 8 and I'm multiplying the left one by 8 as well. Not 2, has to be the same number. So then I ask myself, what's 8 times 1/2? That's going to be 4 times the quantity x minus 2. And no, you don't distribute the 8 to the x minus 2. You just have to take care of it with the 1/2. And then that's equal to 8 times 3/8. Well, the 8's cancel, and I'm left with 3 times the quantity, 2x plus 1. And now I can continue with this problem like normal. And the best part is, there's no fractions to ruin my day. So now I will distribute the 4 and the 3, giving me 4x minus 8 is equal to 6x plus 3. I'll move the 4x to this side to keep x positive, and I'll also subtract 3 from that side. So on the left I have negative 11, on the right I have 2x, and then I just have to divide both sides by 2. And even though a fraction is my final answer, it's not so bad. Negative 11/2 is a perfectly acceptable answer. And that's how we do it. So now let's do another one. For this one I have a minus 3 over 2 is equal to 2 divided by a. Now this one, I'm not going to do the same thing I just did with the least common denominator. Although if you want to know what the least common denominator will be, it would be 2a. And I'd multiply both sides by 2a. But I'm going to do something better. Something that you've almost certainly heard of before, and that is cross multiply. This is when we do cross multiply, when we have two fractions and an equal sign in between them. So now when I do my cross multiply, it's going to be, for the left side, a times a minus 3, which I'll reduce later, equals 2 times 2, which is 4. So now I just have to distribute the a to both terms here. A squared minus 3a equals 4. And in case you don't know how to solve this, as soon as I see the a squared, I should be thinking about factoring. But I can't factor if I have it equal to 4. I need to have it equal to 0. So in other words, I'm subtracting 4 from both sides. So that means a squared minus 3a minus 4 equals 0. And then I just factor this. The factors of 4 are 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. 1 and 4 are going to get the job done, specifically a minus 4 and a plus 1. And that's going to get me a final answer of a equals positive 4 and negative 1. Now before I circle this as my final answer, I just want to check I don't have any domain issues. In other words, looking back at my original problem, I see that I have this a in the denominator here, and I know I can't have a 0 in the denominator. So what I'm trying to get you to realize is a cannot equal 0. Luckily, we didn't get 0 as a solution. Remember, we got 4 and negative 1. But if there was a 0, I would cross it out because it's not correct. That would get me a 0 in the denominator. So the answer is a equals 4 and negative 1. So that's when we cross multiply. Technically, we could have done it for the first problem as well, but that would involve rewriting the problem entirely. So I like multiplying by the least common denominator more for number 1, which is why we did it that way. But the last one I have for us, for this one, I can't do cross multiply because I have 3 fractions. So, in other words, I'm going to use the least common denominator. Remember, I need the least common denominator between 8, 10, and 20. Now, the wrong way for doing this, or at least the long way, would be to plug in your calculator 8 times 10 times 20, which would be 1600, but that's not the least common denominator. There's a better way to do it. For ones that are complicated as this, I recommend writing out the first few factors of 8, 10, and 20 and see where they all get to the same number. So for instance, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32, and I'll stop there for now. For 10, it's going to be 20, 30, 40, and for 20, it's going to be 40, 60, and 80. Now you'll notice none of these numbers match up, so I got to keep going. I'm going to go with the 8 because that's the lowest number. And so if I just think of the next number, 8 times 5, I get 40. And there, now I have my least common denominator because 40 shows up for all of them. So what that means is I'm going to be multiplying each of these fractions by 40 and then reducing. So for the first one, 40 divided by 8 is going to get me 5, and then keep the 3x plus 4 in parentheses, plus 40 divided by 10 is 4 times 5 minus x, and then that's going to equal 40 divided by 20, which is 2 times the quantity x plus 1. Remember, I don't need to multiply 40 by the part in parentheses, I just need to do it by the fraction, and once we're done that step, I'm just going to distribute all of these, and I'm going to do this pretty quickly because I'm assuming you know how to do this part by now pretty well. And we'll get this if you distribute properly. Now what do I got to do? I got to combine like terms. So 15x minus 4x is 11x. 20 plus 20 is 40 equals 2x plus 2. So now what do? I don't see an x squared anywhere, so factoring would be wrong. Setting it equal to 0 would be wrong. I just have to solve this like a normal algebra problem. In other words, subtract 2x from both sides, subtract 40 from both sides, and I'll get 9x equals negative 38. So then I just have to divide both sides by 9. I have to think to myself, does anything reduce or cancel here? And the answer is no. So this is it. X equals negative 38 over 9. And unlike the last one, where I had to worry about having a 0 in the denominator, that cannot happen here. Why not? Because there's no x's in the denominator. Look at number 2 real quick. See how we had that a or that variable in the denominator? That's when I have to start worrying about domain issues and having a 0 in the denominator. But since number 3 did not have any x's in the denominator, I don't have to check for that. And so the answer is negative 38 over 9. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care and bye-bye.